All right, so first up, we'll take roll call. Ken?
Here.
Jimmy? It's okay to unmute.
Oh, Jimmy.
We could see you. You just
Over
unmute.
there. Teresa?
Here.
Savannah?
Yes, here.
Jimmy? I see him.
Well, he'd like to be seen but not heard.
I could read his lips.
Yep. Yeah, he's talking.
Go now.
All right, there you are. All right. So really, there's only one topic on the agenda tonight. It's to talk about the open space and recreation plan. I do have the presentation that Judy put together, and I also had the link that Rebecca sent out. I could, Judy, what do you want to do? You want to start with the presentation?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Do you want me to call Dennis? I just like to start with nice graphics. You can jump to the next screen, please.
Yep. I'll just do it slide by slide and not actually as the presentation.
Okay, so the whole purpose of the open space plan is so that we have a framework, what our resources are now, what we want them to be. The Conservation Commission actually established it in 1986, which is pretty good because they did it without any consultants. There was a lot of community input at the time. There was a big push. There were so many single family developments around that time that there was a lot of interest in trying to curb development. So I think that probably gave things a push. But the unfortunate thing is it tends to sit on the shelf. It should be referenced more than it is. And I know conservation tries to, like when parcels come up for sale, it's, you know, the open space plan can be referenced then. But I think where we're redoing it now, it's something that really needs to be a working document that's used more regularly, and not just by conservation, by the other permitting boards as well. So this is to look at what do we think the strengths are, where do we think there can be more work done. You know, I think now is a good time. It's a clean slate. The last time a major overhaul was done was 2005. So a lot has changed and there's a lot less space to work with. So I think this is a good opportunity. And once the plan's approved, we can apply for grants, which is huge when it comes to some of the initiatives that we might want to take on. Next slide, please. So these are the required elements that are required by the state in order to get approved. So the newest one is the environmental justice population area, which the environmental justice population is an initiative from the 80s from President Clinton. So now it's morphed into environmental, not sequestering certain populations to areas where there's no access or limited access to open space and green areas, and not sticking lower income housing in areas that are environmentally questionable. So Wakefield, I was kind of surprised that there were a few environmental justice populations. And for us, it's based on minority population. It has to be 40% or more, and that's the reason in Wakefield. So it's about Main Street, Water to Melvin. It's not a huge area, but the funny thing about it is it's pretty close proximity to both lakes. I mean, there are a number of parks around there. But one thing that can be highlighted in this is part of this area is where the rail trail is proposed. So I think that will be a big help in, you know, rolling this into the plan. So I think that that's going to give us a step up. So when I looked at some of the older plans, these 7 bullet points really stuck out because they're issues that should really stay in the most recent plan that we're working on now. It's all things that were talked about in 2005 and then again in 2012, and they're still outstanding. And I think like the greenway system, there's been some work on that, and with the rail trail, I think that will help. But connecting, which was it? Oh, the Golden Hills area, that was something that was talked about, working with other towns to develop a global resource management area, I think would be a big help. There are some trails that can be connected across different town lines. And like the canoe launches, walkways, more access along the waterways, I think would be a great bonus. And the last one, fertilizer and pesticide public education efforts, I think is huge, especially today. I mean, you see more and more green lawns, the tick management, chemicals, things like that. So I think it's a good time to, be more activist about that as well. Next slide, please. Bob, you're on mute. Oh, there you go. So these are the 2 areas. I know there's always the main emphasis is on Lake Quannapowitt, which is fine. It's the most visible. It's nice to drive by. But there are so many other areas around town that are overlooked. And I think that this plan should kind of try to work to highlight some of the areas that are left behind in this whole discussion. And when I looked at the 86 open space plan, something that I've talked about, I don't know how many times, the town tax title parcels around the town forest, that was one of the goals in 1986. And it's still the same today. And there's no protection on that land. I don't know that there would ever be a push to sell some of these lots, but when boards change, when town council members change, people may want different things. So I think that's something that should really have a focus, reining it in under conservation management, because otherwise the parcels can be sold off, and sometimes it's little by little, or if there's a need for some kind of town entity, a school was talked about at one point. I mean, this is the time to get on top of that.
When you say tax title, Judy, what do you mean? Is there an issue with tax?
They were foreclosed on.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so they're held by the town treasurer.
Okay.
So anyone could petition the town council if they wanted to buy one of these parcels. And then it would go out to bid. Town council could decide whether or not they want them sold. And that's happened in other areas of town where you lose control over that.
Even if it's under the jurisdiction of the COMCON?
No,
No, huh?
it's not under the jurisdiction.
not.
It
That's
isn't.
the
Not,
point.
okay, all right. So this is just
No.
strictly the ones that are not in the.
The tax title, right.
Okay,
right.
okay.
So also in the town forest, most of the town forest is either wetlands or but some sort of wetland. It's right behind my house. There's a
Right.
bog, there's marsh, there's streams, vernal pools back there.
Yes.
Okay.
So the other one is Reedy Meadow. And that I think is one of the most unknown areas in town. And it's one of the most interesting history-wise, I think. It's a national natural landmark. And there are only 13 in Massachusetts. So to have that designation was huge.
Judy, Reedy Meadow is not an ACEC?
No,
I'm surprised at that.
no. It has 2 endangered birds and a salamander, which is down from the last open space plan. There was a couple of plants and a few other birds, but they've changed the designation, what's protected and what isn't. But it's also an important birding area, which is a designation from Mass Audubon. So I think it's, and they have a trail that the Boy Scouts have maintained over the years, which is great. But I think it's another area that really could be highlighted and, more attention given to it in this update of the plan. And it's the one area that's completely protected under Article 97, since it was donated from Mass Audubon. Next slide, please.
Yep. I'm just kind of reading that over.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
So I think the greatest potential is looking at tax title parcels. And again, the town forest, that would be really the first one. But something when I started looking at the maps, one thing that you could look at is trying to choose one parcel to start with from each of the 7 precincts around town, so that every area, every section of town would have a unique parcel that's under the commission's custody and care, and that could be given some kind of upgrade, update, whether it's kiosks or more native plantings, fixing trails, things like that. And there are a lot of smaller parcels, like the one as you drive up, I think that's Elm Street across from Beer Hill Country Club. It's a large, just a grassed area with a few rocks. That's something that's been talked about before as like a parklet, having maybe a bench or I don't know if you've seen their, like a concrete checkers table, more like a gathering area. It could also have maybe a rain garden with some signage stating, this is a rain garden, this is how you can create one in your own yard.
Well, the thing is about that, it's very close to where I live. Number one, geese use it all the time. So geese are on there. And also it's a tough, that one area is a tough area because it's, the street in front of it, Elm Street is very, a lot of cars go whizzing by. So,
right, but there's, I get that, but there's a neighborhood right behind it.
Oh, yeah, I know, definitely. No, I know.
Yeah,
Well, Judy, you're talking about the large island.
correct.
Yeah, okay.
And I think
That is town-owned land, right?
Yes. Linking up with other town commit like the environmental sustainability, because they have a very broad audience, and I think that would help to kind of push forward some of the initiatives and give some help with it as well.
So just a question on the transfer town forest tax title parcels. How is that done? What is the vehicle for that transfer?
It requires a 2/3 vote at town meeting.
So you'd have to have an article and,
Correct.
yeah, okay. And that's it?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't have the same protection as the as something like Reedy Meadow would, where it goes to the state.
If it's transferred to the Conservation Commission, does it gain increased protection?
It does. It doesn't have the protection that Reedy Meadow has. I mean, that would be.
It has a protection that we're not going to sell it.
Right, it won't be
Right.
subdivided and sold
Right.
off as lots or,
Right.
So long as we control it and make the decision to use it as important habitat space, there's nothing that can be done. Nobody can petition the town then to try to acquire it or anything like that.
Correct.
and it could also be passive recreation, right?
Right, yeah, any of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are
And Judy,
trails in
let
there
me
now.
ask you, I should know this, but after it's approved by 2/3, at vote at town meeting, do they actually do a deed transferring title to it, to the conservation?
Yes.
Commission?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do we have to do anything then to actually maintain it, though, is the question. Does the town provide a budget for that kind of activity?
It doesn't, but that is something that should be done. And that's something that the commission moving forward could look at upgrading their own budget.
Right.
And that's where having an updated open space plan comes in handy, because then you could apply for grants.
Right.
Yeah, in other towns, I'm thinking of Reading and maybe North Reading have lots of space that there are signs that say,
Yes.
Conservation, something
conservation
conservation
land,
area,
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to me. I go, I've gone walking in Reading's conservation land and a lot in Andover's, and Wakefield by comparison has nothing.
well, there were no signs. Are there in Wakefield? I don't think so.
No.
I'm not even sure where any of it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Andover is a different story. They have a whole endowment, the
Yeah.
Andover Village Improvement Society.
Yeah,
They have a huge activist community, and they've
yes.
funded it since I think the 40s. So I think another area that could be looked at is public-private partnerships. And Audubon Road, there's going to be a new tenant, Nanoramic. They develop EV batteries. And they are looking to be long-term in the town and to be good neighbors. So I think this could be an opportunity to ask them to fund some things around their area. I know there's a small walking trail behind one of the buildings now. Maybe they could put some money in that, have some seating areas. I would love to see a raised bird observatory. Jimmy could get his webcam. Yeah, that's something that,
Judy, can I just ask you, I'm sorry, we were just out 7 Audubon Road. So
Yep.
is Nanoramic already in there?
no, they just signed, they got a tax deferment from the town council for a long-term lease, a TIF,
What building are
a
they
tax
in?
incentive.
They're moving into the one we sidewalked at.
Right, it's 7 Audubon. I mean,
Yes,
The old,
Are they the tenant that the
right,
owner wants to redevelop for?
yeah, they
it
want to put
sounds
the,
like,
Yes,
they want
yes,
to put the dock door
Yeah.
in and the pathway.
the
Yes.
same
Ah.
tenant?
I
yeah,
believe that's them.
yeah, Nanoramic, yep,
Well, then there
Oh,
we
that's
go.
very
We've got a deal to be made here.
yeah,
That's very bad.
it is, I agree.
yeah, no, I agree. But I think some of the companies out there have worked before with the commission. So I think it's something where if they want to be good neighbors to Wakefield, that I think they would be willing to get on board.
Judy,
you
but
can some-
We could ask the existing ones there.
Right,
Could-
why not?
We
They've done
could-
it because they've done it before.
Okay,
They've donated
yeah,
money and
I-
it benefits their employees. If they want to attract employees, they want an attractive site. And if it has natural features, they have, like at Edgewater, they have walking areas. Enhanced areas like that are going to attract better tenants, I think. Another idea I thought could be helpful, because it's always an issue of the ponds at Edgewater, is one of the spiral wetlands. Have that, it's a smaller area and it could be used as a kind of a test case. It's not an expensive outlay, and it would be a good visual appeal for these companies.
what's the spiral wetland?
It's a grid planting area that they put in the water, and you put the plants in and they absorb some of the pollutants. So then it could be something that if the companies are going to maintain them, then it's something that can be used off hours by the public, because it's already an area that some people use, but it's somewhere that people may not know about. And it's another opportunity to educate people on what's there, the value of it. Reedy Meadow in itself is on National Heritage Biomap as a critical core habitat, because it's such an untouched wetland area. So it's things like this, educating people why the biodiversity is so critical now, and showing actual functioning areas, I think makes it easier for people to get on board. So these are some of the goals that I think can be achievable. I think working with the other boards, that's been talked about before, but really getting deeper with them, working on environmental issues and working with the economic development director. And if there is a town planner, I did notice at the last town council, at 2 town council meetings ago, when Bob and Jim presented, they asked the planning board and the ZBA what their opinion was on whether there should be a town planner full-time or part-time, but they didn't ask conservation. And I don't know why that is, because I think having a town planner would be helpful to conservation as well. But I think going forward, whether it's Erin, who's the economic development director, or if there's a town planner, there needs to be a close relationship with them. So it's not just simply the financial directive. There has to be a balance.
Judy, can we write a letter? And when I say we, I'm asking, I guess you to draft one for Jimmy's signature to the town council saying that, we want to weigh in on having a town planner.
Yes, and at the last town council meeting, the topic of liaisons came up because the town council, they had designated liaisons for different boards, but not
Yes.
conservation. So at this meeting, they talked about appointing, for ZBA and conservation, and then they only went to ZBA. They dropped conservation. So that's another thing I think is desperately needed, is a liaison from town council. I don't know why there hasn't been one, but I
There
think
was
that's
one
something.
before.
Yeah, there was one.
Julie Galvin Smith was the liaison a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that should be asked as well, if they could appoint someone. Because a lot of these things need to have some collaboration, with the town council. And I think it's helpful when they're involved in the conversations to get things moving along. So I don't know how this is going to roll out. The previous town master plan was undertaken by MAPC. And Rebecca had spoken with their representative. And then today I spoke with someone from Horsley Witten, and they've undertaken Burlington, Arlington, Stoughton. They said they've done 13 or 14 open space plans. Their price was much better. And I don't know if anyone has had a chance to look at the Vision 2030 presentations. That was done under MAPC as well. And I think they just have a different direction probably than conservation would have. Theirs seems to be more focused on more close to the downtown area, a lot of highlight on the lake. So I thought Horsley Witten's presentation was great. And I looked at the other plans and they look like they're probably more in line with what conservation is looking for.
What's the name of the company, Judy?
Horsley Witten.
What was their price?
It was around 35,000.
I did look at the Vision 2030, believe it or not. I even took a snippet. It says, what places of physical assets make Wakefield special and deserve to be protected or improved? Choose up to 3. So 91%, the top one is natural resources. For example, Lake Wickwannapowitt, Crystal Lake, Reedy Meadow, Break Hut Reservation, etc.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
number 2 was the parks and recreations, for example, Town Common, Victoria, all that. But yeah, so the number one, 91% was the natural resources. So.
Right. But when you looked at their survey, I don't know if anyone took the survey, a lot of the questions were, I think that's usually how a survey is run. You kind of slanted to the answers you want. But a lot of it was geared towards highlighting the lake, which is fine. That's our most visible asset. I understand that. I grew up in Wakefield. I didn't spend any time at the lake at all growing up, none. So I have a different perspective on what I think is valuable in town. And I don't think everyone's perspective is that the lake is the most important natural asset we have. And I think that's why this is important to update this with other areas of town that are also highlighted. So the next step is to figure out funding. And I know Rebecca had a conversation with Steve Mayo, and I think she'll have another conversation with him. And then you'll just have to decide what way you want to move forward. Some towns have done it on their own. They'll have an open space committee and they undertake all the work. I don't know that that would be successful, but for us.
Yeah. I also noticed too, and I took another snippet on the 2004 open space plan action steps, acquire or restrict lands along the Saugus and Mill Rivers to connect open space lands and scenic access areas in the greenway trails. This was in 2007. And
Yeah.
it says responsible Concom. Did that ever happen? It says MA Self Grant Program. Did that
No.
ever happen? Nothing,
No.
no? Could
No.
that be something that it could be put in that we want or no?
Yeah, because that's something I think that should be highlighted as well, especially the Saugus River. They have such the history of the Saugus River itself is really amazing. From an Indian settlement period to a sawmill to they had housing there. It's just a huge history lesson in that one spot. And part of the person who does the art for the spiral wetlands also has other art installations. And one of them is, it's a river bench. It's shaped to look like the hull of a boat. So they have it along, whether it's a pond, a lake, along rivers, so you could fish off it. It's a bench on either side. It's not a huge structure. But I was thinking maybe somewhere along the Saugus River, along the Mill River, on some town-owned land, there could be one or a couple of these with an educational kiosk, talking about the history of the area. Again, maybe a bird observatory, because there's a large amount of birding people that come to Wakefield. And the Golden Hills ACEC, that's another thing that virtually no one knows about. And that's something that, I mean, it took so long to get it as a designation, and then it just kind of fell into nothing. And the biggest part of that to me is it's an overwintering spot for songbirds. And it's something that, unless you happen to, spend a couple of years in the conservation office, you're really not going to know about it. But stuff like this is a huge, huge marketing tool. I've talked about it before, about realtors, what makes Wakefield special outside of the lake? Something like you live in an area of critical environmental concern. I mean, that's kind of a neat designation for someone. Our Reedy Meadow, if you walk along there, it's a huge area for photographers, town forest. I mean, there are things that are so unique. The highest point in Wakefield, you can see Boston and you can see the ocean. I mean, that doesn't happen everywhere.
Part of the difficulty, Judy, is some of these things are virtually landlocked. There's no easy way in, or if there is, you have to come out the way you went in. Of course, there's no signage. So yeah, there's
Right.
opportunities to do some trail maintenance, add some signs, make accessibility better.
Right.
Town forest, the only way in and out without crossing, somebody's property is really Maple Way.
Right.
That's
And there are
it. That's
trails
it.
right there. Right.
Yep. But that's the only
And
way
they-
in and out.
Yep. And they could, that could be upgraded, and even just kiosks that show these are the animals who live here. These are some of the birds you may see. It's heightening the awareness of the importance of these spaces and why biodiversity is critical. And it's something unique to Wakefield. Melrose doesn't have it, Stoneham doesn't have it. On either side of town, in Greenwood and over at Reedy Meadow, it's something unique to that section of town that I think could be highlighted.
Yeah, you can access the town forest and get into Breakheart by crossing,
Right.
Farm Street.
Right.
But you've got a continuous path of uninterrupted green space.
Right. And if you go over off of Spring Street, there are trails that connect with Stoneham and Melrose, and Melrose does continuous trail maintenance. They have a
Right.
volunteer trail committee. So they used to call all the time to find out, if trees were down, people would call about dumping on the Wakefield side. And I think that's something, because since COVID, so many more people are looking for trails and have found different trails like the Holland Road trails, things like that. And I think highlighting things like this and what could be, it makes people more curious about the natural surroundings when they think, oh, I could see this, I could see an endangered bird, or I could see something. And then it makes them maybe want to protect it more or get more interest in it and think, well, this is a good idea for the town to keep these open.
Yeah,
I
there,
think it's a good opportunity.
yeah, some of these places are, almost unknown to most
Yes.
residents, because unless you abut them, you don't
Right.
know about those trails and you know how
Exactly.
to access them.
Right. And Melrose has like a pocket-sized trail map. And I think that's something that Wakefield should have as well. And it could highlight other areas. It could highlight, if there were a bird observatory at Reedy Meadow, other places in town. They always talk about staycations. So there are all these things right in Wakefield that people could do for a day. Families could do, there could be a picnic area somewhere. I mean, a little trail at Maple Way, there's an open area that they could have a picnic table or, something like that. So it's more usable. I think the more people that know about it, the more interest you hopefully will generate.
There is an app, I'm sorry to butt in, but there is an app called All Trails, which I know a lot of people have started to use more, especially during COVID times. I am not sure if there's any Wakefield trails on there, but
There are.
I know that you can like crowdsource and stuff and put new trails on there, and that might be valuable.
Yeah, they're on there. There are Wakefield trails.
Oh,
on there.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
MAPC also has trail mapping, and some of it isn't that accurate, but yeah, that is a good resource. But I think then they have, Wakefield has it's called, I think, Resident 101 for new residents. It talks about, where do you go for this, and this. So conservation could be part of that. There could be a, pocket map handout, and, these are the conservation areas in Wakefield. These are the natural resources that you could go look at. So it's another way to get people thinking about preserving and protecting. And the biggest thing really, I think, is it has to be an ongoing maintenance, ongoing awareness, because that's usually what happens. They have this plan and then it sits on a shelf. So I'm hoping that this time around, it could be different. And I think having more areas where there are kiosks, things like that, that are just a constant visual cue, that may help with that.
You know what else might help? I just walked, not breakup, but where they want to put the school with Linda Ireland.
Yep.
And she gives tours, through that area. And she's a wealth of information. She can tell you whether a tree was cut down for logging or whether it was just, or if it was a clear cut. They can tell you what kind of birds are up there, which woodpeckers are up there just by the way they work the tree. I couldn't believe it. She'll tell you about the plants. She'll show you the nest where the birds are. You wouldn't even think there was a bird up there, and there one is. I think, and she would be willing, I believe, to give tours. She says she does give tours. That might be something you want to do, especially up where the school is. There's some beautiful areas there that people might.
Yeah. Well, once they start construction on it.
I
I
know
mean, because that's the thing. It's owned by the Vogue. That's what.
But you could. Well, it's not all owned by the Vogue. Some of it the town owns.
Yeah.
But you could use her expertise would transfer to other areas. It doesn't have to be that area. But I think she might be useful I'm sure she'd be willing to help out. But I see her as a good resource.
What is her affiliation?
She's a very down to earth.
She's a birder, a bird.
She is a
person.
birder. She will tell you about the birds, and she can tell you about Reedy Meadow, what's happened over there because
Yeah.
of activities that have been going on. They burnt down I guess the observation tower. Some kids got in there and burnt it. And they've been having trouble with the kids and rubbish and stuff like that in the area. But she can tell you just by the sound of the bird what kind of bird it is if you're interested in that kind of thing. It's really interesting. She says there's owls up there. I haven't seen one, but
Well, there's owls in our neighborhood here. We hear them at night.
yeah, but I haven't seen one.
Yeah,
Barred owls in my backyard.
yeah, they're hard to see.
So
Ken's holding them all.
I guess I'm just telling you this because it might be worthwhile communicating with her to see what she can do and work this into your plan. I
As a
think
tour. Yeah, I mean, there could be tours. I don't know that she would do this long-term, but
yeah, no, it
I
wouldn't
think
be long
that's-
term.
that hurts.
They do put the school up there, which
I also like the idea about the signage that this belongs to ComCon and all that, because you'd be surprised. I know I am surprised when knowing what's really belongs to what. I mean, signage is great. Why
right,
not?
and telling you what's there, what you could see.
Yeah,
and then
I
maybe
am
you take a better look.
Very in
closer to-
favor of that, very in favor of adding that as a goal. You know,
Yeah,
what-
signage that tells people where conservation land is. Makes
Yeah.
total sense. Absolutely.
what do others think? Yes, no?
No,
Is
it
it-
makes sense. But we'd have to get the land first.
Right.
But even the ones that are existing, no? Can't you put it, is that a step forward?
I think that's something that you could do. I think that should be one of the first things you do is have some kind of signage on the Wakefield side of Reedy Meadow, because there
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
a plaque on the Linfield side that says it's a designated national natural landmark, but there's nothing on the Wakefield side.
Yeah, that's,
I think
There's also a
Wakefield's the
trail in on the
smallest one.
Linfield side that.
Yeah, there's one on the Wakefield side too.
Is there? Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, there's also the trail the scouts did off of Audubon
Right.
Road.
yep,
And it's been maintained a couple of times in the last 10 years or so.
yes.
Where,
yes.
where do you access that? Behind where the building where we were just now?
Further down on the right-hand side, almost at the end. Down near, is that Container Corp of America? I forget what's.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Sounds like we need signage for it.
Right.
There is actually a sign.
Yeah, there's a
That-
sign. There's a
Is
sign.
it a sign to get there though? When you get off of 95? Probably not.
No, there's a sign at the entrance to the trail.
Right. But if you don't know where the trail is, right.
Right.
It's not always totally accessible at certain times of year also,
Yeah.
when the water levels are high.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice little trail, there's a little island out there, and there are a lot of hidden gems around town that people do not know about.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah,
That's all I have.
So can Rebecca tell us the conversation she had with Steve Mayo about funding?
Sure. I was just asking if, since we have to do the open space plan, or we should be updating it. I know the master plan is in the process of being put together by MAPC, of which only a portion of it is open space, and the open space plan would, of course, be more comprehensive. So he asked me to get a couple estimates, of which we now have 2. And I also asked whether or not it would be acceptable to tap into any of the COVID funds to try to fund something like this. And I don't have an answer on that. I think it might depend, but still working on it.
So you have two proposals, one from the company that Jim mentioned.
Yep. Horsley Witten, yes. Yeah, I was going to suggest maybe you guys for your homework to look at a couple of open space plans by Horsley Witten, and then look at a couple of open space plans by MAPC, and
Mhm.
see if there's a style issue, or see if there's anything, if what you prefer one style over the other, or you like some of the, what they've included or how they've done it. I mean, there is a framework that they have to follow. But just so for next time, when the decision gets made, eventually you are comfortable with it because you've looked at both of them.
And can you send us links to those, or how do we find
Yeah,
them?
I
we have the
can.
MAPC examples.
You can just Google them too. I mean, you could just put in open space plan plus MAPC and open space plan plus Horsley Witten. If you don't
Okay.
do that, I can do the same thing and send
Okay.
it.
And how do you spell Horsley Witten?
HORSLEY, WITTEN.
Yes.
That's correct.
And
So Teresa, Judy sent along a link to North Reading's plan.
No, I
which
didn't know
was
which one,
drafted
but I
by-
know she did. And,
Yeah.
and no offense to you, my name is Teresa. If you call me Teresa, I don't know who you're talking to.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, I'm the same way when it comes to my name.
So,
so Horsley Witten has done Arlington, Burlington, and Stoughton recently. And their first question was whether we were a CPA community, because those three communities are, so it makes funding easier.
Mm.
So that's another shortcoming that we have in Wakefield. So I think it's something you don't want to sit on too long. And I think if you haven't had a chance, I would say take a look at the Vision 2030 document that was put together by MAPC. Also time frame wise, I don't know when MAPC would do the open space plan, or if it's something, I don't know, you'll have to look at their style. Just from my point of view, I think the questionnaires were very limited and very targeted, and I didn't like that. And that could have been the directive they were given when they were crafting this 2030 vision. So I wasn't a fan of that.
Judy, the Horsley Witten open space plans, did they all include what their surveys were? Like what the questions were and the results? Does each one?
I think that's a requirement.
Okay. All right. So we could look at how they formed their surveys and sort
Yeah.
of.
And I think that can be guided by the town too.
Yeah.
You know, they would certainly give you a template and then it could be crafted. But I think some of the questions need to be more open-ended than they were for the 2030.
Judy, it's too late to get an article for town forest to, pass over to conservation, right?
I think it's April. I thought it was, I can find out from Sherry tomorrow. I thought it was like April 1st, because they just pushed town meeting out another week to May 16th.
I can tell you that Steve Mayo popped in my office today and asked if I could we've had these discussions before, he and I, about different properties and what we would be interested in. I did tell him that we have some ideas, particularly, I always go back to that emerald necklace just because it's all organized and it's very easy to see. As a matter of fact, Bob, I sent you an email just a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you want to pull it up. I color coded that area today just to give you guys an idea of what we're talking about. But anyway, he was hoping to have that information sooner rather than later. So I'm not sure if the idea is to get it all organized for the town meeting, or if it just happens to be coincidental that he's asking for that information somewhat soon.
Well, let's see if we have time to, get that one in.
We do. So, all right. So that was, I just color coded it a little bit today. It's just a screenshot of what the map looks like. But basically, the green outline, the lots that are outlined in green, which you can only really see, it looks like 2 of them. Those are Conservation Commission land, so it's town under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. The parcels that are purple are the Town of Wakefield Housing Authority parcels. The ones that are orange are Town of Wakefield Board of Selectmen. And the ones that are red are the foreclosed properties. So we've looked at for many years, all of this giant clump of trying to get all of those linked up together to have sort of more of a connected swath, I would say, of open space. There are some trails that already exist in some of these properties, and some of them are more challenging to get to. But for the most part, I would say take a good look at that. And I would suggest starting with this. We've walked some of them. I think I mapped a trail on one of them. I can't remember which one. It might be a little further up.
Yeah, it was
Actually,
by Holland Road.
It was up
it
here
was Holland
somewhere.
Road. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just looking, exactly right in there. So like
Yeah.
I have pictures and there are some trails in there and I have pictures of those from 10 years ago. But anyway, this is the first sort of clumping of properties that I would love to see transferred over. But why don't you guys take a look at that, see what you think, if you want to drive by them, if you have any ideas or anything else. I think that would be the first step.
Yeah, if anybody would want to walk the trails of the town forest, let me know. And I haven't gone back there in a number of years, but it's pretty amazing back here.
How many acres is it? Do you know?
What's that, Jimmy?
Do you know how many acres it is?
I don't, but there is a map that does tell you how many acres it is. Rebecca, there's another map that does give acreage, isn't there?
I'm sure there is.
I know I've seen it.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it might.
You could just go right on, I could look it up for you. I was gonna say, you can just go right on the assessor's
Assessor's map.
page. Yeah, and then click the information button.
The town line of Saugus is right here also. Part of this is actually Saugus. Probably this green area here, guessing maybe.
Is that what was called Golden Hills in the,
Golden Hills,
some of the-
it's a little bit down here more, over here,
Okay.
but yeah, it abuts Golden Hills.
I see.
And it is,
Okay.
that is part of the Golden Hills ACEC.
And you got the, what is it, Long Pond and,
Griswold.
yeah, Griswold Pond. Yep,
Further south.
and they're like over here somewhere.
Okay.
Also part of Golden Hills. But yeah, you can walk right through here under the power lines all the way to Breakheart.
What did you want to know? The
Jimmy was
acres?
asking about the acreage of town forest.
Okay. $45?
Yeah, that sounds
45.
right.
And then combined with Maplewood here, probably like 60 or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, you can access town forest right back here from Mapleway.
Yeah.
And it shows some trails on the other side over the border.
Up here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a trail, actually, there's a farm over here, a guy has like pygmy goats and horses, you can walk to that through the woods. Yeah, it's pretty neat up here. But yeah, I mean, there is almost a connection from this Holland Road area, town conservation owned right here,
Mhm.
through these parcels, crossing Green Street, and you can get right into town forest, it looks like. So we actually do virtually have access directly from Oak Street into the town forest in addition to Mapleway.
Right.
I think that's really wet right there. I
It is
believe
wet.
There's a
another
stream, yeah.
parcel. Where kind of we're under with a T of Oak Street. I think there's another one there. Hold on, I'll look.
Yeah, there's two empty
On the corner of
lots.
Atwood Ave. There's a town-owned parcel.
It's like
Okay, right there.
DPW or something, right?
Right, right.
It's a really tiny, I don't know what that's for. I don't know if it's like a drainage.
It is.
Is it all wet as well? Because I know the one that's conservation is.
I think it is, yeah.
There's a little brook there,
Yeah. Yeah, it runs right in back.
and there's all houses there. It's like, there's small lots with houses close together.
Right.
I don't know how, you'd have to get some kind of an easement there or something.
And those are all the kinds of things that when you guys, if you print this plan or look at it or whatever, when you guys are driving around and driving by some of these spots, you can sort of think on what would be some opportunities or how do you see people using it, or because your information is really valuable. I don't live in Wakefield, so it would be great because you guys would know of a lot more things than I would.
Yeah, there's trails in JJ Round also.
Yeah, they show those on some of the plans.
Yeah, that's on, a lot of these trails are on that All Trails app. The coordinates, the GPS coordinates that Rebecca had for that one trail is on that. And it's on MAPC as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are next steps?
Well, can
I'd say
we see
choose
about
someone
getting
to do
that
the
article?
plan. Yep, we can have the article and choosing if you want to start the plan, if you want to pick one of these companies.
What are you saying, Judy? I didn't hear that.
If you want to choose to start the plan, yeah, definitely the article, the town meeting article for sure. But then deciding, to take this on. I mean, it needs to be done. And if it's not done by conservation, then it's not,
Gonna be
it might
done.
not be the direction you want.
So getting back to the article for town meeting, what is the article going to say? What lots is it going to show that we want custody of? Or we
Town
want-
forest, right? How many lots? Is this 2 lots or?
Yeah,
Is-
they're two
I mean,
separate.
So it's those 2 lots. Okay.
No, I would say, no, it's the red. It's everything you see in red.
Yeah, but this is a separate lot also, abutting town forest, or,
Correct.
and this is right behind my house. This is a wet marsh and a bog.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. By the way, that little connection that you guys had attempted to,
Yeah.
right down, go back to where you were. Down, that one. Originally, I think when you guys did the subdivision, you were trying to either get that or look into that for access because you were supposed to get an easement and that never happened.
Yeah, they
Or
bought,
did that.
homeowners bought it.
Yeah, yep. I was gonna tell you that. I
Yeah,
just saw that today.
this homeowner bought it.
Yeah.
We were supposed to have an easement here. And it was never recorded.
Yes, because I've seen that on the plans, but I've
Yep.
never seen it
From
anymore.
signs. It was right here between these 2.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But
So
yeah, now
one
this
in-
spot is gone.
One interesting thing at this week's town council meeting was there was a request to purchase town-owned land on Woodland Ave, which is off Greenwood Street, heading down towards Melrose. It was a lot behind a house and the homeowner wanted, the extra area. And the town council decided that they would rather see it under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission.
Really?
Really?
Yes, because they weren't confident. They didn't, even with the deed restriction, the 30 years, they wanted to have a stronger protection. So I don't know if they reached out to Rebecca, but that was what they were going to look at. So I thought that was, a good segue into trying to get some more under the care and custody of
You
conservation.
know what the address was?
26 Woodland.
Let me look it up.
So far, we're talking about having an open space plan done for us and then working on getting a town-owned property in our name
Yes,
or in conservation. We're doing 2 things here.
yes.
So we're gonna have Judy or Rebecca get in a third quote or something and,
Do you want a
take-
third quote?
well, you said that.
No,
I
I
thought
didn't.
earlier.
No, I said other towns have taken it on themselves. They have an open space committee and they do the work themselves. I don't
Okay,
think that, I said I didn't think that would work for Wakefield.
okay, but we're talking about, we're getting these prices because we're gonna get someone else to do it, or what are we
Yes.
doing?
Yes, and it would be a partnership. I mean, if conservation did some of the work, then it's, less
Mm.
cost on the other end.
Okay,
And
but
it's not having to recreate the whole plan. That's the big
okay,
part.
so Rebecca, didn't you just say that you had to get 3 quotes for Steve Mayo?
You're on mute.
You're muted.
Just saw that, sorry. I said, I didn't say 3, but he did ask me to put some information together, so he knew, what we were working with here and trying to get this done.
How
Okay.
different were the costs? between the two?
Well, MAPC has technical assistance program, but if you, they didn't give me as much of a formal quote as Horsley Witten did. Because they said it could be this, but it depends on this, that, and the other thing, and you can also have this. I mean, I guess my assumption, at this point, I actually thought Horsley Witten was a little cheaper. I'm not, I have it here. I can forward, you know what, I'll forward you the email from both.
So Rebecca, were you gonna take those two and send those to Steve Mayo?
More or less, yep.
Okay, and I understand the preferences for Horsley Witten.
You guys should look at both and see how you
No,
feel.
I get it. Is
Oh,
that your
okay.
preference too, Rebecca?
Probably. I mean, the benefit to MAPC is that they are working on the master plan. However, similar to what Judy had said, I think that although the goals seem like they're all the same, it just can be framed a little bit differently, and I preferred the framing of Horsley Witten.
Okay,
But I think as long as we have something to work with, I think that's a step in the right direction, because this has sort of been floating around for a long time.
And it's something conservation needs to be the driver of. That's what I'm afraid of, that it's going to be relinquished to someone else and you won't get the
No.
product that you're looking for.
well, you could still help them out. Or give them some
But it'd be
guidance.
a different directive, is what I'm saying. It wouldn't be the same take that conservation has.
Okay,
Because there was, the last one was it the planning board who did, not the planning board, it was the town planner, right?
Yes, it was pretty much driven by the planning board. But they had a committee for every separate section. And it did take quite a while. And it really wasn't ever used. That was the problem.
It really wasn't what, Judy?
It wasn't ever used, really, any aspect
Oh,
of it.
used, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really.
I mean, I think people have a false assumption that it's a guideline that has to be followed. But it's more, this is what we'd like to see in the future.
well. We gotta leave here with some direction tonight, so I think that it makes sense to find out from Steve. And if Judy's gonna work with a company, that'd be fine too, I would think. But if you wanna move something forward, then I think we gotta get the stuff to Steve Mayo and see if he can agree to the price and
Right, right,
find someone to do it, and then at the
right.
same
He can
time,
agree to what the budget, and then
and then Judy, I think.
then the commission can make a decision on who they want, who
Right.
they'd like to choose.
So Jim, are you looking for the motions?
I just want to see something happen, I guess. So I see progress here. So I think that, that's all I'm saying. Let's move and do something. And the things I can see us doing right now are finalizing something with Steve Mayo. I think
Right.
Judy should be involved and Rebecca should be involved and guide whoever it is that's going to do this to keep us on track.
Right, and it requires, public forums, a survey, so it's a lot
Yeah.
of public input too. So it's something
Yeah.
the Conservation Commission needs to, take charge of. And I think the warrant article as well, that's the immediate urgency.
And then
Who would write the article?
Anyone? Are you volunteering, Bob?
No.
It does, I mean, it's not a long, it's not,
Sounds like somebody with legalese needs to be doing that.
It's someone with a law degree.
well, or we can
Nominated,
cut and
Teresa.
paste.
I don't have
the
the stripes for
Fidel-
that.
The Fidelli lot that was transferred over to the town, that was accepted at town meeting. So you could kind of cut and paste the wording. I think Tom Mullen crafted that. The Fidelli lot on Holland Road. Remember they switched lots?
Yeah, they
transferred one to
traded
town?
lots,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Right.
this would be just for the town forest that you're writing this, right? You're not talking about the whole emerald
Yes, I
necklace.
am.
You
Correct.
are.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Why
Okay,
wouldn't
so
I?
that's quite a bit of work.
Should we go for a smaller bite first?
Nope.
Well,
Nope.
I'm just
This
thinking,
Disagree, because,
Been around for
I'm just thinking,
Right.
I'm just
what's the
thinking-
downside?
Can I
Well,
say
they
one
can say
thing?
no to the whole thing, right?
I'm
But
just
Rather than
thinking-
go
yes,
for one
this
big
piece
bite
of-
first and then expand it later, you might have a better shot.
Well, I think number one, you better be able to connect the parcels before you do anything, because there is a few stumbling blocks in there.
Mhm.
So you
I don't
gotta
think there
find a
needs to be a
solution.
direct connection, though. I think that's something that is not necessary. If you have to cross Oak Street, big deal.
That should-
Thank you.
You don't have to
You-
walk and a continuous trail. You can go
I
on.
think you need to look it over and see where you're walking to get from one lot to the next, whether you're in someone's backyard or you're in the woods.
But if they're town-owned property, you're not in someone's backyard.
Jimmy, if
But
you
the
get shot at, you
town-
know you're in
The
somebody's
town-owned
backyard.
property is connecting to other parcels as well.
Right, but those wouldn't be the ones, you can see them on the map, the town.
I know,
properties.
that's what.
They're all
that's what made me
contiguous.
Think of this.
Right, they're contiguous, though.
There is
They're not
some
separated
blank
by another
spots in
wall.
there, Judy. There's some blank spots in there, and we know they're there because we've discussed them before. So
Not
there's a
within
couple of
town
spots that
forest.
need to be clarified.
But is that map up to date?
Why don't we all get a copy of that map and we'll go out there and walk this thing?
What map?
Whatever you put together, Rebecca.
Okay, I'll email you guys that.
And
And I
we'll
don't
see-
think that they have to be contiguous. I mean, I think that they
No,
should be adjacent, but if you have a little bit of a separation of two chunks, I still think that suits a purpose. You can, you know what I mean? Like, if you can't get to the town forest from the Holland Road areas, I think that's okay. You don't have to, sorry.
I would prefer that you had a way to
But the
get to
whole
the whole
purpose-
thing.
but the whole
Because-
purpose,
Because you're gonna be in people's backyards, and that's gonna be an issue for some people.
Yes,
So
I don't
so,
see where you're
yeah,
gonna
like
be in
Holland
people's
Road, and
backyards.
those areas there, we know there's a paper road in there that Stephen Nardone has property that is not gonna want anyone going through there, but it is a paper road. There's a few.
But then he doesn't own it.
But if
It's
the,
paper street.
if you look at the
Okay,
ones that are
I'm
red,
just saying, I think
But the
that we
whole, the
should
whole
have a
impetus,
plan to
Right,
know which
I get
direction
it.
we're heading.
but the whole impetus of accepting all these parcels is not for a trail solely. It is
But-
for the biodiversity of this area. That should be the highlight, not a trail system. I think you're losing the forest for the trees. The whole reason that this should be protected is because it is a contiguous area. It's an overwintering spot for migratory birds. It's the Golden Hills ACEC. and oh yeah, there's a trail there too. The biggest is it's environmentally prudent
Okay,
to keep this protected. That's where you're
Okay.
losing, and you're
okay.
getting off track, and then
I
it will,
I still say we need a path going through there so we know what we're
you
going.
can, but that shouldn't be the sole,
my
the
God.
highlight of it. It's like saying Lake Quannapowitt is the greatest thing that Wakefield has to offer. And that isn't true.
Okay.
And having a trail isn't the only reason to take these parcels.
No,
And I think
but
that's a way for it to be shot down at town meeting.
it may be the
The
hardest,
point
one,
you're bringing up.
especially when you get to going through people's backyards.
But that's
Mhm.
why you don't focus on the trail. Oh my God.
All right,
Any trail, through Holland Road, it's the same thing.
So Jimmy, are you saying that the red area, regardless if it's that there's people's homes there that goes, that those
Yeah, those
people's
little-
homes that
those-
are there? And then, so even though they're saying it's it's open potential for us to buy or whatever, that it's actual houses there, people's backyards?
No,
Yeah,
No.
there are people's backyards abutting these, and what we've found in
Abutting.
the past is people
Abutting.
like, not in my backyard. Like the
Mhm.
whole issue with the rail trail. People,
Okay.
you know,
right. But we're not saying we're getting this to create a trail. There are already trails in there. And that's
Right,
fine
it-
to
that-
map them.
It would be better if there's no path.
Right.
Yeah, because it attracts vagrants. That's what the Linfield argument was,
Right.
you know?
But I
Remember
think
nothing but,
highlighting the need,
Vagrants on the rail trails, huh?
Yes, yeah,
But-
Right.
all for the rail
Keep in
trail as
mind,
long as it doesn't go
though-
through my backyard. Yeah,
Yeah, but keep
Yeah.
in mind, property value goes up when you're adjacent to these types of areas.
yeah.
exactly. And that's
So-
another point that can be made. It's another marketing tool that Wakefield isn't using.
I just think it's a harder sell,
Yes.
trying to get it all. It's like when, when they try to pass this giant bill and they bury all kinds of stuff in it, it gets bogged down and people oppose it. It's cleaner, I think, if you go after something like this and then later go after that.
I agree.
Yep.
How much
Based on
later?
my
though?
conversation.
I
based
mean, I
on-
want it all, right? We want it all, but I
Right,
just
right,
think
but get the big
getting
ones
it
These,
passed.
some of these have been in tax titles since the 40s.
Yeah.
If they were
Based
interested,
on the
then I think it
conversations
would
we're
have.
having, I think it seems like this is the right time to try this, more so than ever.
Yeah.
I have people, I mean, literally, Mayo was coming into my office asking me to put this together. I think we should strike while the iron's hot.
Strike in what way, Rebecca, for the whole thing as opposed to a limited area?
I would say, I mean, I think there are probably like the very top of your screen, there's one yep, that's the one rectangle that I would say it's great to have more land, but I don't see that as a significant value.
You might have to
Right.
walk a tightrope to connect the two right here.
Well, I did that. Well, I did it that way because they're paper streets. So you own to like the center line or whatever. And so you actually would, if that one's to the center line and this one's to the center line, they would you could be able to connect them, which is why it's done like that. However, I mean, that's not the most valuable one out of the groupings. However, I do think it's important to look at this as one area and that they're all of these areas are undeveloped. They are not, we don't need to buy them. There's no money to be spent. You're not collecting any taxes, any of that stuff, right? Why not just transfer them over now? They're being used.
could see
some of
the
these
people-
properties- Say again?
I could see the people on Oak Street who are between them becoming a problem for us.
We sent letters out to all the abutters of all these parcels and asked their opinion and told them that these are tax title properties, they could be sold at any time. There was zero response, except the only response was, as long as it's not affordable housing.
And
know,
not
the
my backyard.
Well, the thing is,
Mhm.
your choices are either that or you get about, you squeeze in 40 more houses on a small cul-de-sac in this area. If I were
Right.
those neighbors, I would way prefer this to be preserved as open space. Whether or
I
not you
agree.
have a few like hiking trails through there, they already exist and it doesn't really seem to be that big of a problem. So a lot of these red areas have hiking trails already on them, or people are currently using them.
What was the orange designation again?
Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that's all about, but like they're sort of random.
It probably wasn't done on purpose, I bet.
I don't know.
But how many areas of town have such a large open area that is a great area for carbon uptake? It's biodiverse, it's habitat diverse. I mean, those values alone, that's why people like to live along Oak Street. They have nothing behind them. Wouldn't they want this area protected?
So I think if you were to put all those properties together, I think it's 100 acres.
Properties up there and all the way down, and then including the town forest, or just,
Yep, the town, all right, including the town forest. So the town forest is 45. So if you were to look at all of these red parcels and you were
Okay.
to ask to transfer those, although we don't have to do all of them, but those, it would add in another 55 acres of open space, and plus 45 of the town forest equals the 100.
gotcha.
When you add in the surrounding areas adjacent, so for instance, those little Board of Selectmen lots and the housing authority, which I don't know how valuable that is, whether or not you can have a trail through the housing authority, I don't know, but it was kind of owned by the town, but you add on another 40 acres. So you would have, 140 acres and
Well,
all in one
They're not
spot.
gonna transfer housing authority property to us. That's
No, we're only asking for the red.
right, exactly.
The foreclosed. No, I'm just saying, so you have all these foreclosed properties, which like I said, the town currently, you don't have to spend to use them. So you don't have to spend to purchase them because they're already owned through tax title. And for the most part, the reason why they are is because they're challenging to probably develop. Some of them have wetlands, some of them have ledge, some of them this, that, or the other thing. However, based on the fact that the neighbors are currently using for trails, it certainly seems suitable that you would continue having that option for trail uses, because there are trail uses through some of these tax titled lands now. They already exist, even though it's not designated for that use, they're being used for that purpose. So what we're saying is we're just going to put all those together, and that way it can now become part of the town of Wakefield's open space, conservation areas, whatever. And then you can have more kiosks and more education and more trail maintenance and whatever, all that stuff. Would we have to find access? Yeah, sure, probably. But some of these areas, because they're adjacent, there's already town access. So it's just trying to, and we'll go through and fine tune some of this, but just for the most part, that's what we're going for.
This whole
Yeah.
JJ Round area is tax title. That doesn't seem to make sense.
I think that JJ Round words go up to the orange.
Because here's where the basketball court is, right here in the baseball field.
I think that label,
Should
They
be over
call
here.
it JJ Round Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should be right here. the
yes,
label.
No, it was originally the whole area was called JJ Round Park. And then they named that JJ Round Playground.
But this
Okay.
is all tax title.
Yep.
That's-
It is. He donated the whole playground area. And I think where Harts Hill is, James Round.
And what's the blue area here?
housing.
Oh, right.
The
That's
housing, right,
Hill.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's Harts Hill.
yeah. And the water tower's up here. Yeah. So you really think, I guess, Rebecca, that swinging for the Grand Slam is the way to go here?
Yep.
Do you feel the same way?
I don't see the commission moving forward asking for more parcels. If they did just get the town forest, I don't see it happening again. So I think and especially if you can get town council on board, if Steve Mayo's already on board. I mean, they're the ones that suggested keeping Woodland Ave under conservation.
I think you're right, Judy. And I also think that town council is rethinking all this building that's going on, just from what I've heard at the few town council meetings I've gone to. I think it is a one-shot deal. I think you should go for the whole thing.
And then if you don't get the whole thing, then you go back in the fall and try to do it parcel by parcel. I think people are under the assumption, I know they're under the assumption that the town forest is protected, that there is actually a town forest, and there isn't.
Right.
So I think when people find that out, they're always surprised that it's something that anyone could say, I'd like to buy a parcel, and it could easily be sold. Or the town could decide to do something with it.
Yep.
Like a parking lot and another soccer field, like we talked about before.
Or condos.
So is the
Yeah.
consensus now to do all of the red? I think so.
Well, Rebecca and Judy saying everything shown here in red, orange, green, and
Purple.
yeah, and purple. Well, they can't give us the purple.
No,
No, I only included that so you could see that there's adjacent
Yeah.
property that is
Right,
town owned.
yeah, right.
And there is a path that I believe goes across that purple lot already.
So it's orange, red, and green. Well, what about the blue?
Well, green.
Right, there's two different
we
green
already
here.
own.
That's-
Green we already own, Bob.
Yeah. Well, this green I'm talking about right here.
Oh, not outlined in green.
Right.
well, that's the playground. So
Right.
that's under the Parks Department, so that would stay there.
Okay.
No need to mess with that.
So red and orange. Everything red and orange.
No, the orange is already under the Board of Selectmen.
But
So
why
it's
would we
not-
want that transferred to us?
We don't necessarily.
Because it's already adjacent to those other areas.
Right, you can or you can't, either way, it's already under Board of Selectmen. It's not even like, it's not foreclosed property. It's Board of Selectmen property.
But they
So
could
again, it
still,
makes sense. Why would you have these random Board of Selectmen properties that connect to absolutely nothing, where you add in the red ones, right? The foreclosed, like, again, we don't have to buy them. And now you're starting to piece it together to put something together.
Yeah, right.
it would make
the Board of
sense to
Selectmen
take the
property-
orange too, though.
Say again?
It would make sense to take the orange also.
I would propose that, whether or not, I mean, that's not as vital because whether it's Board of Selectmen or Conservation Commission, it's still going to be on, under the care and custody of the town. So it has a different protection level than it
But
would.
so is tax title. Tax title is owned by the town, Rebecca. So
But
again,
it has different requirements for being sold.
Right,
Or-
but Board of Selectmen could sell these two lots, right?
exactly, the Board of Selectmen could sell it.
I don't know if they can sell it through the same process. It depends, I think you would know more than I would, but it depends on how they received this. So if these were donated for a purpose.
Right, no,
to-
it's true.
Yeah.
It's what the grant would give. That's true. There could be. restrictions.
Right, so I'm assuming because I can't understand why they'd be under the Board of Selectmen for any other reason other than moons ago, someone donated them and they said, great, thank you. Whereas, the other ones are not, the red ones are not under that circumstance. I'm happy to include those, whether or not they, I do think because it's designated Board of Selectmen, it's different.
And they both border paper streets, it looks like. Yes. Yeah, they both are on paper streets. I mean, it would make sense if we're going for everything else to get those too,
Sure.
I would think. If you're gonna be that aggressive, might as well go for all of them, right?
Well, I think the first thing to test the water is Rebecca's going to talk to Steve Mayo and she can pitch this proposal. And I think he's got a good feeling on, and enough, he can pressure the town council, I would think, press upon them his opinion. So if he thinks there's no way this is ever going to fly, then maybe you could adjust it then to just the
Okay.
town forest.
Mhm.
You'll get a
Yeah, I
preliminary.
think you want to
feel
get
on
a
it.
sense from him of the politics.
The
I
problem is
think,
to do this by April 1st is a lot to do in a very short amount of time.
yeah,
Not really.
We already
mean-
have this information. It's already all put
Right.
together.
So but someone has to prepare the warrant, right? And Tom Mullen won't do this for us.
No, I mean, it's like 2 sentences. It's not.
Well, you have
it's
to
not a-
identify every lot.
I have them
Thank you.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rebecca has.
I have
them.
them in a spreadsheet already. They're all
Okay.
done. And I have this exact map, so I can send it to you guys too, but it's like, these are all, I know you can't really see it, but just so you know, like, these are all the table of the foreclosed properties that we're talking about. And then the next set is listing out the adjacent properties, and that's where I got the totals from. I did this, yeah, I have a lot of stuff on this already. So it's not just this particular piece of it. We have almost everything we need already.
So can you get a copy of the town warrant for the Fidelity lot?
Yes.
Sure.
It's this lot right here, right?
Yeah, that one.
Yep. So if Steve is in Thursday and Rebecca has a chance, maybe she could float the idea by him, and then she could let you
Tell us
know
Thursday night.
Thursday's meeting,
Yeah.
right?
And then we could potentially have a motion
have an idea,
to
right.
pursue an article
Correct,
for everything or a
correct.
limited scope.
Yep. You have a
Yeah,
better
what-
idea.
What's the total acreage? Do you know,
Of what
Over
part?
100.
for what you're trying to?
Okay.
for all the
100.
Parcels put
So-
together.
If you add up just the red ones, it's 100 acres of what,
Yeah.
of that 100, 45 is just the town forest. So the new red ones that not including the town forest would be 55 acres. When you add in the adjacent properties that are already under the town, not foreclosed, but whether they're under a department, be it
Yeah.
parks, forest, upland, or whatever, that's another 40 acres. So the whole area would total 140.
Okay,
I don't know like what percentage is wetland or.
yeah, no, I'm just saying,
Okay.
I'm just trying to visualize what a large number like that means.
A lot of place to walk your dog.
Yeah. No.
So the
Unless
the green is
developed,
wooded, right? The green is all wooded space. Is that the designation? The
That's
highlighted
on
green?
yeah, that's on a town mapping system that I don't have control of. I think probably forested or whatever.
Yeah, so this is all green under here. It looks brown, but it's really green connecting to here.
Yeah.
And this is
Robert, I gotta call you back. I'm in a meeting.
developed area, whatever, on these fringes.
I'll call you right back.
Okay. All right, so we will potentially have a chance to talk to Steve on Thursday.
You know what I'll
Report
also
back to us
do?
Thursday night.
I'll also do this colored map over the aerial. I just have to put another layer on it and then you can see that. Now maybe that'll be helpful too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I can do that too.
Yeah, and zoom this one out a bit too, so we can see the fringes of Maple Way and the rest of that lot
Sure.
up here. Okay, so we get that under control. What else?
We're gonna find out what the budget is, how much money we can get, and then you guys can choose who you want to retain for the open space. plan.
Rebecca's gonna get the 2 proposals to Steve Mayo and ask Steve Mayo how much money, right?
Mhm.
Right, or actually, she could say, this is what we need, not ask him what he'll give
you,
us.
you sent us the proposals, you said, right?
No, I said I was going to forward you the emails. Would you
Okay.
like them now? I can do it now. Do you want them now?
Yeah,
Okay. No, I don't know why. Hold on. So on the laptop at home, it has the old group of Conservation Commission members. Can someone please forward this to the associates, as for some reason the laptop here doesn't have their email? Can you guys easily do that while I get the other one?
I can send them both emails if you want.
Okay.
I have them.
Just because I don't know why it. Oh, of course I say that, it just came up. I
Oh,
fixed
you
it.
have it? Okay, good.
Yay!
Okay.
I have no idea what just happened.
Your magic.
Yeah. All right, there's one. Do you have the other one faster than I do? Judy?
Which one do you need?
I sent the MAPC one already.
Yeah, I got it.
There's so many emails from you.
I
Judy.
just sent, I know. Part of my charm. I just sent the one from Horsley Witten.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, you included me.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, is there money for, somebody to pay for these other
Yes.
than coming out of our bucket?
Yes, no, we're, yes. That's why Steve Mayo's involved.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
Okay, it's awful quiet. What's happening?
Judy and Rebecca just sent the emails out.
Yeah, got them both.
And then was somebody going to send a link with those other open space plans?
Judy already sent them. I was told that.
Oh, I got
Which
so many.
ones do you want, Bob?
What day was that, Judy?
Which plans do you want? Which open space plans?
Did
It
you
was
still send them
suggested for like
again?
3 or 4 different ones or something.
Wait, are you talking about the whole report or are you talking about a map when you say
Out of
plan?
the
No, you asked us to look at different, at Horsley Witten's compared to the MAP.
Yeah,
Look at the two.
okay, I don't have anything prepared with that on it already. I would just Google it, copy it and send it to you guys.
Right, Rebecca said, Google open space, Horsley Witten, open space, MAPC.
Right. MAPC I know has done Melrose, and Horsley Witten has done Arlington and Burlington.
And I think, oh yeah, I know some more. Hold on.
Okay, so the idea is that, Judy, is you say, just tell us, we need $50,000 for this? Is that the idea? I mean, he wants to see proposals.
Well, Horsley Witten said a robust plan, they would
between
estimate
35
around,
and 60, right?
that's MAPC. Horsley Witten is 35.
No, he said, I strongly recommend going high. Oh, 35, I'm sorry, you're right,
Right.
sorry. So again, just trying to move this along, we say to Steve, 35, that's the question.
What's the question?
The amount we
Oh,
the amount we ask Steve Mayo for.
35.
a budgeted number already.
Who are you talking to?
Who am I talking to? I'm talking to you, Jim.
Well, I think it could be presented to him that these are
Okay.
the numbers we received, so this is the money that would be required.
Yeah, we want whatever it takes.
I
Open the checkbook.
can put my Robert De Niro invitation and say, you talking to me?
Well, they just appropriated 50,000 to do the master plan, so the open space plan
That'd be worth
needs to be done
35.
as well. Right, exactly.
I think you give them a range, 30 to 50, and that's where you go.
I
with
like
it.
that idea,
Right.
Jim.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, it can't be a
Is
flat
that it
number,
right
right.
there?
All right, I'll see what I can find out on Thursday regarding all of these things, and then I will update you guys on Thursday night.
That's
How's
good.
that?
Good.
Thank you, Judy and Rebecca, for pulling this together.
Yes,
Yes,
did
thank
all
you
of
very
this.
much for.
very
your work.
informative.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've learned a lot.
I'm
Very
disappointed
informative.
there's no public participation. This
Wait a
says a
minute.
lot about the open space plan.
What, did you,
Wait a minute, they could
was
have
this
done this.
announced?
It's on the way. I mean, that's how anyone finds out about any public meetings is on,
Yeah,
yeah, there's such
Well,
an interest in overdevelopment, but then when it comes to attending a meeting, people, it's easier to talk
Well.
online, I guess.
no surprise.
No.
All right, so we'll see you Thursday night. We have a full agenda on Thursday, right?
We do.
Do we have Lake Quantapowhat? I mean, sorry, Cabinet Forum, is that?
That'll be a full
development?
agenda by itself.
I'm not ready for Lake Quantapowhat. We need
200.
another. We need to tell them next Thursday.
I did. Oh,
You
no, you were on the email. I told them that you thought it would be best to have another informal meeting first.
Yeah,
And
and
then we signed to schedule it, and I haven't heard anything since, but
he sent emails out. Matt sent an email out to you.
yes, he did. And I said I could do that time, or I gave him the times that I was available. And then he asked if other folks were available, and that was the last we heard. So I don't know if it'll happen this Thursday or not.
Okay,
But I already have something at 10:30.
yeah, I heard that. Right.
I mean, if they want to continue, they can, but if they don't want to continue, if they want to present, then so be it. I would recommend for preparation on Thursday for both of your projects that include riverfront areas, that you go over what Alicia sent. I think
Yeah.
It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I have it right here. See that?
You're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you
So
read it?
actually, she simplifies it, the way she's written it up, it's easier to understand.
Oh, you didn't like the way I did it when with the very first meeting? That was too.
Well, yours was better. I thought we were talking about this one.
You can always look back at that one. It says the same stuff.
Oh,
Um,
All right.
all right. That's it.
All right,
So you
is the agenda for Thursday up to date
Yes,
as of now? Okay,
yes, I updated it today.
okay.
And you sent it out?
No, I
On the website.
reposted it online. I haven't sent it out to you folks yet.
But you
It
won't.
should change.
I can do it right now.
Things could change between now and Thursday.
Yes, but I won't change the agenda before now and Thursday. Only because I can't.
All righty. So are we looking for a motion to adjourn?
Yes, we are.
Are we
Motion to
sure?
adjourn.
Are we all done? I feel like there's something left behind. I guess not. I guess we're done. Good progress tonight. Excellent.
Good.
Yeah. All right, so I believe Tressa made a motion to adjourn.
Good.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor? Ken? Where is Ken? Ken?
Ken is on mute.
You just muted.
Yes.
Okay. Jimmy?
yes.
Silvana?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
And
You.
me. And I also vote. All right, good night, everybody.